All right, welcome all of you to this last day of Global Entrepreneurship Week. As you guys know that we are conducting Idea Chat on every day, and this is the last day of our Idea Chats. Idea is a student entrepreneurship body in Syracuse. We support entrepreneurs and innovators throughout the campus, and our main motive is to promote entrepreneurship in Syracuse region and central New York. I am Akshat Kumar. I am a second year information management graduate student, and today I will be conducting an idea chat with Mr. James Torio. So, giving a brief background about James. James is an a Syracuse University alumni. He studied master's in advertising a couple of years ago. After that, he started his career as a designer, and now he's been working with McKenzie as a solution manager for 5 years. Today, we'll be talking to him about innovation in product designing. He has been a pioneer in user experience and product design for years now. And today, we'll be uh, looking forward to hear some valuable insights about product designing. So I want to welcome you all, Mr. James.
Hello.
Hi, James. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So, James, just to start, before we start and go to our topic of discussion today, would you like to share your journey till now to our viewers, how you started and how you came to such a extreme levels of user experience and become a user experience guru?
Sure. Um, before going to Syracuse, I worked as a designer mostly in print and in web, and then attended Syracuse for 2 years. And after that, I worked for a small agency in New York City called Addison, where we focus primarily on user experience and what's also considered simplification, where we take really complex systems or large systems and try to make them usable again for people. So that could be anything from a massive 300,000 page intranet site to looking at a complete customer journey for a large healthcare company. I did that for a few years and then came to McKinsey, primarily focusing on user experience, um, then interface design, and then moved, I think, a little bit more upstream to kind of product strategy. We're figuring out what products should be built, what features should be included, and kind of tying together the business with the users and the technology.
Great, great. So, would you like to share your experience about how product design has changed over the past years and how it is now? So, would you like to go forward and carry on the discussion on that?
Sure. So about how product design is changing,
Yeah.
I just went, okay. So I think it's becoming more fast-paced, and it's becoming something that uh, companies need to give more attention to. Uh, and and why I say that is it's no longer just sufficient enough to kind of build and hope things will get used, but the kind of bar that people come to expect has definitely raised. So it's more important now to be able to kind of have a hypothesis about a product and then kind of working with the people who use the product and learning from them as quickly as possible.
Right. So, you want to go forward with your presentation now? As I want to tell my viewers that we'll be going through this presentation, and as James would carry on this presentation, you can move forward to different slides.
Sure. So what I was hoping to do today is just kind of have a chat about some ways you can find ideas for new products And then once you have those ideas, how can you validate them to see if they're worth actually building? So if you go to the first slide,
Yeah.
so just to lay the groundwork, um, I'm a firm believer in that there's opportunities for products everywhere that we look. It's just uh, a matter of looking. So I think they come from really two different directions. One which I'll call customer driven, which is looking at potential users of a system or products and seeing where they're having problems. And then another direction is technology driven, where there's been advancements in technology that you're aware of, and now you can solve problems with it. If you go to the next slide there, customer driven. And what I'm meaning when I say this is that if you observe people, you can see where there's unmet needs or potential frustrations with the way they currently do things. So some signals you can look at are if people are wasting time, if there's frustration. Um, I mean, things you can think of in your everyday life, you probably experience in them. It could be anything from not wanting to go to a supermarket, right? So and you have to spend time going through the supermarket, or here even on the slide where you're waiting online. So this first key area is to kind of look around and see where people are having frustration or where there's currently unmet needs, and you can get some opportunities there to solve problems for people. And it can really go any number of directions. You can think about it even from, how do you pay school loans back, or students just graduating, how can they find good jobs? When you're traveling, any of the pain points with um, going on an airplane or even checking into a hotel, they're they're really all around us. It's just a matter of can you identify them for people and then do something about it. That's really the first area, which I call customer driven.
Right.
The second one, which I was talking about, is technology driven, and that's by understanding advances in technology and then seeing how you can apply them to solve problems for people. And that could be anything from, like you're seeing here with an iPad. Um, you know, now you can do things on mobile that you could never do before. Whether that be something like using GPS so that people can learn what's around them, right? Years ago you couldn't do that, but now the technology's here, so you can kind of solve an unmet need or meet an unmet need with technology. And it can range from anything from being able to leverage a new technology uh, like um, sensors, right? Or even understanding what could be done with Node.js or something. So what you're trying to do is take technology and now how can you fit that to solve that unmet need? So those are the two areas that I think if you're looking around, you can find opportunities to develop products for people.
Right.
The next slide is what I call or what is just a customer journey map. It's something that's used um, really to understand a customer's full experience with working with a business. So in this situation, what you're seeing here is um, someone who's booking um, and trying to spend time at a resort. And these are all of the touch points that they have with that business. And what this does is either help you or a company see first like all of the interactions that someone is having with your business, and then where the pain points exist, if they're having a good experience or a bad experience. And again, those bad experiences, or what you're seeing down on the bottom there of that slide, will show you opportunities for improvement or opportunities where you can have some kind of innovation to improve the experience or come up with a new product or service.
Mhm.
And then if you go to the next slide, I think this is really a profound statement and also a very simple idea. and it comes from Ev Williams, who's one of the co-founders of Twitter and Blogger. And essentially, what he's saying is you look for human desire, and you can use technology to remove some of the steps it takes to achieve that desire. Right? So whether that
Right.
desire is communicating with family members who live a far distance away, or whatever that desire is, if you can find a way to leverage technology just to make it easier to do, um, there's an opportunity for a new product or some sort of innovation.
Right.
I was just
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you want to if there are any thoughts or reactions to that, or
Yeah, so for the viewers, if you have any question, just click on the questions tab and you can ask questions of the piece which we are talking about. So yeah, so I wanted to ask if you have any examples which you can quote from the real life from experience where you dealt with a particular problem in a customer driven or a technology driven or a both initiative. So do you have any example where you have to deal a particular problem in a particular way and you found that a particular way is more successful than the other?
yeah, I don't know if one is more successful than another, because I think that it all depends on almost the lens you're coming with, you're looking at it through.
Mhm.
And why I say that is, um, a lot of the work that we do is you're looking for ways to improve things, right? So you may be looking at the way an organization works, the process that they're using, or even looking at um, how people are are currently working to solve problems or to make sales, whatever that is inside of a business. And one lens to look at that is, um, how can you um, make it an easier process, right? So again, you're looking back at the customers. I can't really speak specifically about some of the projects that we work on, um, but we do take both approaches. We will have sometimes technology that we can leverage, right? Let's say something you might be familiar with, that a lot of people use PowerPoint, um, to communicate
Right.
ideas in a business setting. Now we're able to push past PowerPoint and build apps that can replace that and make that communication more effective. And so in that sense, you're looking at it from a technological perspective.
Uh, we have a question from Alvin. He says that can you apply this philosophy to B2B model?
Sure. I think again, if you look at a business as if it's, it has needs and it has unmet needs, right? So you can look at any business that's out there. A lot of what, you know, and again, I have to just make clear, like I'm speaking for myself, not McKinsey, but a lot of what management consulting does is solve problems for business, right? So businesses have a lot of unmet needs as well. Whether
Mhm.
that is they have waste inside their organization, or they have um, inefficient ways of selling their products, whatever that may be, you can look at the way that they're doing business and try to find ways to improve it. I mean, you can do it even if you look at local businesses, right? If you look at restaurants, are there unmet needs for restaurants? Are there ways that you can improve processes that restaurants have to use in order to do business? So yeah, I think you can look at it from that lens of, let's just kind of stay with restaurants for a minute. That you can look at it and see all of the steps that it takes to make a restaurant successful, um, and see their unmet needs and the problems that they're experiencing. Or you can see maybe you now have some kind of advances in technology that you can apply to them. Like, um, a few years back, there was Open Table, which removed the need for restaurants to have to manage reservations. right? So what OpenTable did was just take over that whole space for a restaurant. They don't have to worry about it anymore. So someone leveraged new technology to solve an existing problem or an unmet need.
Hmm. Okay. Uh, we have another question from Arun Kumar. He asked that what would be the starting point of product development in a customer-driven initiative, and how do you identify? Uh, okay, the question just got with me. So yeah, so the first question, how do you? What would be the starting point of product development and customer standpoint,
Sure. If you go over to
customer-driven
on that slide, on that PowerPoint, if you go to slide number 9, this is just called an opportunity assessment, and what this is helping you to try and do is kind of put a gauge on if a problem is worth solving, right? So the first bullet point there is, who are we solving the problem for? So in this point, we're trying to figure out who these people are. What kind of information could we know about them, right? Are you solving for recent college graduates with specific degrees in specific geographies? Like, you want to try and have as much information about the people that you're trying to solve the problem for as possible. And then identify what problem you're actually trying to solve, or what problems they have, the unmet needs that they might have. So that would be the starting point. And then what you do, if you're trying to build, I primarily focus on building applications. So when I'm saying product development, it's digital products. Um, so what you do is identify the riskiest areas of like your assumptions of what you think the problems are for these people, or the opportunities that you can help them with. Um, and then what you can do is, prototype some examples for them to try and see, one, if the problem really exists, and how bad is the problem, right? And if there's a high frequency at which something occurs and it's a pretty bad pain point or an unmet need, there's probably a larger opportunity to do something for them. So the first starting point is
right?
is identifying these customers and trying to understand who they are. Um,
Mm.
and I see that the second sentence there, it says, how do you identify customers? And what's this, the second part, and form?
Um,
Can you resubmit that question?
well, yeah. So Arvind, if you are listening, you can resubmit this question again. Um, okay, so let's move forward to the presentation now. So
Okay.
we are on slide number 8 now. Okay.
All right. So the point I was trying to make in the first couple of slides is, you know, basically by being observant and looking around at what people have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and it can be in any kind of area in life. It can be, you know, families. How do they have to deal with communication? Or it can be mothers taking care of kids, or nurses in hospitals, or businesses having to deal with other businesses. Whatever it is, if you're observant and you're looking around, you can find opportunities to really meet people's needs, which in turn are products. Now, what we started just talking about on slide number 9 is how you can start testing your ideas to see if these are problems worth solving. And really, how can you do this as cheaply as possible, right? You don't want to invest a lot of time and a lot of capital in a problem, and then the opportunity is not really there. So what these questions do on that slide is help you to think through if this problem or this opportunity that you see is worth solving, right? So you understand who the people are that you're trying to solve the problem for, and it may be more than one group. And it's good to be specific there, because the more you know about that group, the better. Um, then what problems are you solving for them? And right there, you have a hypothesis. We believe that this group has this particular problem, right? And you can think of it. We'll just give an example. Um, maybe we believe that there's people that are frustrated with waiting online at Starbucks, right? So we think that there's an opportunity um, that we could make we can meet that need for people that don't want to wait online at Starbucks. It's a pure assumption. So what
Right.
you would want to do is understand who these people are. Do they, what qualities do they have? Why do they not want to wait online? And then test that assumption by really figuring out, you know, is it a real problem for them? Is it such a problem that they would find an alternative solution? So again, you're not building anything at this point. You're just trying to validate your assumptions. You want to understand if there's any alternatives out there. And if there are, that's probably a good thing because it means it is a problem when people are trying to solve it. I'm not sure if we just want to
Right.
go through all those bullet points or if you know, Ashkat, you have any thoughts?
No, I think if people can look into it, if they have any question, they'll post them. I just wanted to ask that these, I mean, in every case, you might not get a clear answer of all these questions. So,
Hmm.
how do you assess that in that scenario, like revenue stream and cost structure? Might be some clients would not be very, you know, comfortable
Yeah,
in sharing those
a-
information.
and
So,
I don't think you need to have all of the answers to go on. It's kind of an iterative process where you start with trying to validate if there's an opportunity there, and as you're learning, you can try and figure out more and fill these other answers in, right? I mean, right from the beginning, you may not know how you're going to launch a product or why you're in a good position to solve this problem, but with each kind of week or day that goes by, you want to be learning more about the people that you're solving the problem for, the space that they're in, so that you can start answering more of these questions, right? Because these are critical to kind of getting up and going. Um, so yeah, I mean, in the beginning, you may not fully understand what your value proposition is or why you're different from other people and why anyone should pay attention to you, right? Especially if you're a technologist trying to push the boundaries of what has already been done with technology and trying to kind of come at it from that direction. So
right,
it's more of like a framework that you're going through and filling out as you're going with each week.
right, right. So before we move forward, I wanted to let all our users know that we have another idea chat just after this at 4 o'clock. It's upon aggressive innovation. So please make sure that you attend that as well. Let's move forward to the presentation now.
All right, cool. So if you go on to slide number 11, this is just a visual of what I was referring to, that one way to approach things is that you look at everything as though you just have a hypothesis, right? You believe that this may be an opportunity. And what you're trying to do, if you look at those arrows, is you have an idea, you want to test that idea as quickly as possible to see if it's actually true or not, right? So in the case of what we were just talking about with, are there people who don't want to wait at line at Starbucks and don't go there for coffee because they have to wait, right? So that's a hypothesis. We believe that we can serve these people, we can get these people as customers because they don't want to wait at Starbucks. Um, so the first thing you want to do is test that as quickly as possible, right? And see, are there really people who believe that? Uh, if the answer comes out to be there aren't, right? Then you go back to the drawing board and you start with another hypothesis. If it turns out there are people, then you can start prototyping, right? Well, what would this solution be? Uh, how can we best meet their needs? And then you test it, measure it to see if it's working, and then similarly, you go back and start over and continuing that whole entire process.
All right.
Any thoughts on that?
Mm, no, I think
Okay,
we don't have any questions.
cool. So if you go to the next slide, just kind of another guiding principle is to learn as quickly as possible, as often as possible, for as cheaply as possible, right? If you keep that in mind, you won't go off building for weeks without validating anything you're doing. Um, essentially you won't even go off building for a day or two without validating what you're doing. So this is trying to hone all of your energy into, again, getting that feedback, and looking at trying to solve problems for people as learning is kind of um, a unit of measurement that you want to go by. Like how much are we learning each week, and how quickly are we learning? You go to the next slide, number 13. Another principle you can think about is speed. The faster you can do this, the more iterations you can get and the more you can learn, right? So here's now where you can start thinking about how can you leverage technology or even things that have already been built, so you can learn as quickly as possible. Um, the, so it's all about speed. The faster you can do this, the better. And then slide number 14 is kind of thinking about uh, just how can you start testing your ideas without even having to build. And there's a number of ways you can do this. Here you just see an example of like a Kickstarter project. And what you can do is even produce a video about, the concept of the of the product that you're building, right? So you haven't even built it yet. You're just trying to gauge if people really have this problem or this unmet need. Is there a way that you can kind of start quantifying that without even building? And there's a number of interesting things you can do. Um, you can use Google AdWords to see if people are even searching, right? Searching for what the problem you're trying to solve, and if they're searching for what are they coming through. Um,
Mm.
there's an interesting story if you're familiar with Skillshare, that before they built anything, um, they just basically had a website and they had an email sign up, right? So they didn't build anything. They were just saying, this is Skillshare, this is what it's going to be about, and sign up if you want more information. And they set up a goal that if they got X number of emails, then they would actually start offering classes and take it to the next step. The same thing, once they got to that point where they got enough emails, then they offered 3 classes, right? And they still didn't build out anything at that point. I think they did it all by Evite. So again, it's this concept of how quickly can you learn? Maybe building isn't the fastest way, but can you leverage existing tools or other ways to learn if there really is an opportunity, um, or if there is an unmet need that you can help solve.
All right.
And then the next slide, number 15, the minimal viable product. We hear about this a lot, especially up in the startup space. But what you want to keep in mind with a minimal viable product is that people have to want to use it. So you don't want to be so minimal that there's no desire to use it, that it's a minimum feature set. That's not what it is. It's what can we build that people will still want to that people will want to use our product. So it's something to keep in mind. It's trying not to overbuild, but it's building just enough so people want to use it.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
so I think that's kind of it, from just trying to generate some ideas and some ways to try and test your ideas.
mm, so yeah, I wanted to ask. You must have worked with lots of different clients. Also, there must be lots of you worked with lots of startups, entrepreneurs as well. What's the difference in approach when it comes to product designing in a startup environment and in a big organization? Like, do you feel any difference, and what do you suggest to the entrepreneurs when they approach their product design, be it be anything in any industry?
Sure, that's a great question. So I think both have their own set of challenges. Um, Large companies that are trying to create products, um, there's large systems that are usually behind those products, especially if they're not a product company. So sometimes it's the process of making products that causes the biggest challenge for them. whether that is adopting like an agile development process or kind of lean methodologies in product development. But I think even with startups, one of the biggest challenges that I've seen many startups face is not interacting with their customer base enough, um, and and not really looking at things from the perspective of learning and constantly getting that feedback. It's like they're not geared enough towards their customers, and I think that that causes challenges. You wind up building products off of someone's assumption or someone's vision, and it may not align with the customers at all. I think another challenge I've seen with startups is that at the ground level, when you're trying to get off, you really need people who can actually do work. And so it's kind of trying to find a combination of that thought leadership, but then also people who can deliver on products.
Right. So
Are,
do you have any? Yeah.
no, I was
No,
just gonna
go
say
on.
if there's anyone listening with any kind of specific issues they're facing, I would love to chat about those as well. But sorry, go ahead. What were you gonna ask?
No, I was just asking if you have any um, suggestion or advice to the young entrepreneurs who are kind of planning to start their own business, or they have any idea how do they should approach um, their idea in this current scenario.
Yeah, I think one of the best things you can do is keep what I call like an opportunity backlog, right? So you start training yourself to look for opportunities, to solve problems for people or to create products, and you keep that list going, and um, constantly going through that list, and trying to see like how quickly can you validate if this is a real issue or problem for someone, and especially if you're an entrepreneur, who's kind of bootstrapping things, you want to think about how quickly and how cheaply can you learn, right? If we go back to that
Mm,
idea of people don't want to wait online for Starbucks or wait for coffee, can you figure that out in a day, right? How quickly can you get the answer for that? You don't want to build even for a week, if you don't have to. I think that's the first thing is it, and the other thing is not falling in love with your ideas, because once you start getting like I think this emotional attachment, um, you want to have that passion, but you want to also be open to looking for clear signals from what your potential customers are saying or what data is saying.
that's a very good point you just said. Mostly people kind of feel attached to an idea and they don't look beyond that.
Mhm.
But it's kind of a continuous learning process when you are in the field of entrepreneurship or innovation.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is like don't be afraid to kind of pivot in other directions, right? If you may have started out in one direction and you're learning, like it's okay to kind of change with what you're learning. You should be changing. I don't think really any any company that we see around today that's a startup or even has grown from a startup into a large organization has started in one way and just stuck with that path. There's usually a lot of learning that goes on and a lot of change that happens. So it's kind of being open-minded and ready to be flexible to those changes.
Right. Um, if anybody have any questions, please feel free to post their questions on the question tab. James will be happy to take those. And meanwhile, we are again, there is an idea chat just after this one at 4 o'clock on aggressive innovation. So make sure you join that. And um, if you want to connect with James, his LinkedIn um, account is posted in the screen queue. You can go ahead and uh, visit his profile. Um, Any final thoughts, James? You want to share some funny experience you had with some company or some challenges you faced? Uh, because you've been keep on dealing with lots of different difficult clients, I know. So might you have some good
So
experience
I
to share with?
I think the biggest thing that I see over and over again is whether it's startups or larger organizations is there's no clear methodology as for how they come up with the products that they want to build. Um, so I believe that you can be much more structured about it, and especially if you're trying to go out on your own and you know um, you're working as an entrepreneur. Um, Again, it's like how can you have a, a, a methodology for I have an idea, I'm gonna test that idea and try and turn that into a product or see if it's worth building a product. So some of the challenges I've seen over and over again that companies face with is like I said, not interacting with their customers in meaningful ways, right? So building prototypes and testing them, or you know doing user research early enough. Um, So it's not that we're looking for customers to build the product, but we're trying to validate our assumptions with them. So I think it's a combination of thinking about the interface, how you can really push the design of the interface, and then also interacting with the customers. I think I've seen a lot of companies, both startups and large companies, in the last couple of years, from a technology perspective, grow rapidly with the adoption of Agile. Um, I feel like more and more organizations can build really fast and leverage open source technology. It's just about building the right thing that people really want to use.
Okay. Um, I think we don't have any more questions now. So
Okay.
I want to thank you again for doing this for us. It's a very valuable experience for all of us, I'm sure. And I mean, thanks a lot again. And I
Sure.
hope
Thank you.
you have a
Bye.
great career again. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for joining, everyone. And make sure you attend the next idea chat. Thank you.